He wasn't kidding around. He says, let's go back to racing.
Probably made some change in that pit stop we had.
Trouble. The 82 of Tony Kanaan, the 22 of Thomas Scheckter. A big contact. And Tony is on his lid.
Okay, Tony? Yeah.
He is okay. We also have a car up into the wall in turn number 4. Get a number for you on that as soon as we can. I believe it's the 26. It is. So there is Marco Andretti with heavy damage on his right front suspension. So we just go back to green flag racing. And our 4th caution is the worst of the bunch. The Hum Ultra safety crew trying to get the car up high enough that Tony can get out. You heard him say he is okay. Kanaan coming off that 5th place finish last week at Mid-Ohio, 4th at Edmonton, and of course the last time we were on the ovals he finished 2nd at Iowa. And there is Thomas Scheckter as he has climbed out. Remember, he had the great start at the race, picked up like 12 positions through the course of those first 2 quick yellows as he really got aggressive on the high line on the restarts.
Then we think his car probably started to go away on him, and he had not been quick ever since that time. So now we see the 82 machine of Tony Kanaan being turned over, and he'll get a chance to unbuckle and hopefully pop out of the cockpit. This is the nice thing about this series, Marty, is that they are there very quickly. I had it when I drove all those years, that if you do have an incident, that you know the guys that know you best are there usually under 10 seconds to help and assist you when you've had a crash.
Well, I always remember the story you tell when you had your back injury down in Brazil, and you were looking up at a guy and you knew exactly who he was.
Well, it was Dr. Terry Tramble, who you see back there also, and there's Mike Ollinger also. He's the director of medical services. Overall, as a driver, you just feel very trustworthy that the best guys are there that know everything about you.
Well, there's no doubt Tony Kanaan is the most physically fit of the drivers in, and no one will argue that point, and he is out and walking to the vehicle. We'll take it back. Here's a replay.
Oh, Tony on the low side, and then what's ended up happening with Marco, he ends up just getting squeezed from Thomas Scheckter, the 22 machine on the right-hand side, and so he ends up then getting into Tony, which then starts all this off, and that's why you saw the right front suspension damage on the 26 sample machine of Marco Andretti.
And there's no safer barrier on that inside portion of the wall, but thank goodness those tires were there. That absorbed a lot of that shock.
So the car is sliding around, getting into the tires and up and over. Now, if the safer barrier was there, Marty, I would probably say that the car would not have gone on its roof. It probably would have just hit the safer barrier and then come back out towards the grass area. Now, here you can see the nose starting to get underneath the 22 machine of Thomas Scheckter, who's subbing for Justin Wilson. And then it comes back down, and then when it gets into the tires, both cars, just the angle of the 82 machine of Tony Kanaan just gets caught and ends up turning over.
Well, we're going to go side by side as they continue the cleanup here on our 4th caution, and we are at halfway, lap 113, so this race is official now here at New Hampshire.
Tony Kanaan has been released. You're tough as nails, Tony. That was scary. What did you see?
I don't know. Got to ask Marco and Scheckter what the hell they're thinking, but I guess I was on the inside, and all of a sudden I got collected, so I don't know who hit who there, but they better have something to explain. I just think that when a car's a lap down, you shouldn't be racing the cars that are in the same lap, but glad that I'm okay. Sad for the guys. I mean, the car wasn't up there today, but it's still important points, but glad that I'm safe, and let's move on.
Frustrated, but okay, and we're back to green, Marty.
Race leader is into the wall, and we have multiple cars now, and it looks like that is the 12 of Will Power as well. So on the restart, all of a sudden, the man who has dominated this race, Dario Franchitti, finds himself parked on the sidewall. There's the 4 J.R. Hildebrand. He too is involved in this. Our 5th caution. And the last restart, the double file, everybody was so clean for the entire lap, but not this time.
No, that was something that we've not seen before, obviously going in a straight line, so we'll have to catch a replay on that. And there you can see the right front tire with a lot of black around it from contact, and obviously flat for Takuma Sato.
He was in second place.
And then Will Power is still on the track because it was the 4 of J.R. Hildebrand that ended up coming and hitting the inside wall. So now for Will Power, although you hate to see your competitors have a bad day, but Will's had quite a few of them, maybe he's going to start to collect some points.
You're right. It is Power still out there, and there he is. But he does have a little damage to his wing there, as there's something there on the left front. Let's go back and take another look.
Now the 10 on the left-hand side of our screen looks like they're both just going towards the center of the track. Maybe we'll get a view from that from down the straightaway where we can see if one moved over towards the other and possibly even the Takuma Sato. No, it was Dario Franchitti just coming over to maybe take away the lane of Takuma Sato on the start.
On board with JR.
Yellow, slow down, slow down.
Oh, yeah, and he did everything right with the exception of getting hit from the right-hand side.
All right, on board with Dario. It has been 43 consecutive races where Dario Franchitti has been running at the finish, and it looks like he may have that streak broken today. 9 of the 225 that make up this race here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. It has been a lot of action on the track. Started on the very first lap as watched Mike Conway get turned around sideways, collects the 38 of Graham Rahal, and both of them are out before they even get down the backstretch. The frustration from Graham Rahal's situation and his side of the coin. Elio Castroneves, he too has issues, slides across the track. Nobody else gets collected in this one. He had minor damage. They brought him back out. He ends up right now out there 13 laps down in 17th.
Very frustrating year for Elio Castroneves, and in this scenario here, 26 of Marco Andretti just gets sandwiched by the 22 on the top side with Thomas Scheckter, and ends up taking out the 82 of Tony Kanaan, who ends up upside down. Tony would be okay. Damage even on the 26. He is finished for the day.
And then race leader Dario Franchitti on the restart. He'll be on the left side here on the driver's right, and contact with Takuma Sato. Sato has minor damage. He's able to get back into the race, but not the 10 of Dario Franchitti, and it has now changed the points complexion.
As they want to take advantage of the drivers that are around them. Now for Ryan Hunter-Reay, he only has 3 push to pass left in his camp. Oriol Servia 8, Hinchcliffe 7, Dixon 6, with only a few laps left to go. Does Hunter-Reay have enough to keep in front?
Again, it's Ryan Hunter-Reay, the race leader. He chose the outside lane. Oriol Servia trying to pick up his first win for Newman Haas Racing. Green, a spin. Already in the start. We've got cars going everywhere.
Yellow, yellow, yellow.
And it includes Will Power. Danica Patrick spins. And you see Michael Andretti, he was complaining at the beginning of this because, and there's damage to Danica's car.
The track's probably just a little bit, that mist comes down. It doesn't take much with these slicks, Marty.
And this is really going to affect Will Power. Rick, let's check in. What's going on down there?
Well, I'm standing by with I will describe a very agitated Michael Andretti. You called this. You said that was going to happen out there.
Yep, and this is the worst officiating I've ever seen. Sorry, Brian, but this was bad, really bad. Well, we lost the car and we lost the lead. I mean, this is just, you don't do that. It was wetter than when they threw the yellow earlier, and they threw the green. I mean, it's just...
you came down, you appealed to the officials.
I tried. It doesn't matter. Really, really disappointed. I mean, they normally Brian does a great job, but this one, he really missed it.
Michael Andretti once again came down, was yelling at the officials. Ryan Hunter-Reay in the car was pleading, saying, this is stupid. I can't even put the power down. As a result, you saw what happened.
It was an all-skate session, that's for sure, coming down the front straightaway. And because of the way this track is constructed, you know, you don't have any room there because there's the pit wall that you see Will Power backed into. And, Jamie, what are you hearing from Tim Cindric?
I'll tell you what, for a good 5 minutes before they threw the green, Will Power was yelling, no, we cannot go. You see him frustrated. I have never heard Will Power use language like he did and scream like he did. He is going in to talk to the officials. He had a 20-point swing in the championship going. You see him try to get stopped. He is going to have a talk. He's frustrated, and they're saying the same thing. That was awful officiating. You see him very frustrated talking to Charles there. Tim Cindric is on his way back to the garage to calm his driver down.
We are going into a red flag situation, and you can see how livid Will Power is, because as of right now, he's dropped to 9th, and it could get a lot worse. So let's go back and show you exactly what happened.
Remember, 650 horsepower. Danica tries to get on the power, puts her foot on the pedal, back end just starts to come around. You can see everybody else still sliding around doing the same thing.
It collected Takuma Sato. It also collects Will Power. You see Anna Beatrice in this. Here's another angle.
Now hers is the first car that starts to come around, which starts the change reaction. And obviously Brian Barnhart, the chief steward, needs to make the decisions the best that he can, but you can see a little bit of moisture on the lens here. Not sure if that's from before. She just touched the throttle, Marty, and the back end came around.
On board with Briscoe.
3. Watch 1.
So Briscoe escapes the carnage, and there is Michael and his reaction. And of course, Will Power, you saw him getting out of the car. Here's a replay of that as he is just beside himself.
It's frustrating. You know, he's not had the season that he wanted to. He's been so dominant, so many racetracks, had some bad luck, some bad calls. Situation at Mid-Ohio, just with an unfortunate scenario of being the wrong place at the wrong time with the yellow.
He was at 47 points the way it was, and now it's 57 points based on where he is right now. And if this race restarts, it's going to get even worse because there's still cars that could pass him for position.
Well, and you saw the frustration with him right there, and unfortunately that gesture is probably going to cost him. He's going to be a little lighter in the pocketbook, I think, by the time the officials get finished with him on that one.
Yes, and we apologize because obviously Will doesn't realize that we're live and on the air with all that.
And what he was seeing was the big screens here in the infield.
And their shots are sometimes a lot different than ours. We're hearing from IndyCar officials. They're going to go back to the run order before the restart. I mean, let's get this clear before we put anything else out there.
We have those 5 cars up there on the lead lap, unfortunately.
Right now, you heard in the PA in the background, there are only 5 cars shown on the lead lap. There's Takuma Sato, as his team battled back after the contact with Dario Franchitti, kept him on the lead lap despite the 2 stops, and it looked like he was going to have a good run right up until this moment.
And for a driver and a veteran of road course racing and Formula One racing, he has taken to the ovals very, very well, and would not be surprised to see him win one of these before the year's out.
And he'll be the first to tell you who's really helped him, Tony Kanaan.
Absolutely. Tony's been a big boost to that team, not only just in helping the drivers, but also in setup to get those guys up to speed. So Tony's had a big boost of not only morale, but obviously results with that team.
Gary Gerald has caught up with Takuma Sato.
He's making that long walk back after an adventurous day here at this racetrack. Tell us about the frustration of being involved in an incident like you were that denies you a chance to get the win.
It was my fault. I was too close to Dario and had a debris in my eye, and there was tears, and there's no excuse for that. But I was the too close, and he came on. I was close to them, and I'm sorry about that.
Have you had a conversation with Dario yet?
No, I just jumped out. And at the end of the day, we were looking strong, but the rain started, and under that condition of starting, it was all the crescendos and all the accordion stuff that the whole, completely front of the low was this. How can I say?
Should this race have been restarted in your mind under these conditions?
It was a difficult call, but I think the moisture was maybe a bit too much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Takuma Sato takes the blame for Dario Franchitti contact, and I'm sure they'll have a conversation. And there is what's left of his car on the hook, heading back into the paddock area. And we still technically have 5 laps to go, but we're waiting for official word from IndyCar officials as to what is going to happen. There's the damage on Danica Patrick's car. Now, she is still shown not in the garage area, but right there on the pit lane. Some of the crew taking a look at the damage. It would not be raceable, obviously, but we're waiting to see what is going to happen as far as this race. Here is the restart one more time, and watch Danica. She goes around, and the chain reaction begins. For a second, Will Power was going to have minor damage until that contact right there with Ed Carpenter when he backed into the wall. On board with Danica.
Just a touch of the throttle so easily for the tires to spin and the back end to come around.
From Elio Castroneves' view. And he was managed to get through unscathed, as did his teammate Ryan Briscoe. And the drivers, of course, staying inside the cockpits, waiting to find out what is going to be happening here. In fact, all of us are.
In the situation here, all the drivers, I think, honestly, Marty, are trying to think whether we should continue with this, because they really know how slippery this racetrack is. And generally what happens in this scenario is that the race officials will ask the drivers through their crew chiefs about what the track conditions are like, and we're not sure if all that information got reported back to Brian before the decision was made to go green. So that's something that we'll try and find out for you, because drivers are the ones that are right there on the track. They're the ones that really give the best information.
We looked into the eyes of Ryan Hunter-Reay. Of course, we told you a little bit earlier, Ryan looking for his first win this year. That's one of the crew members from Team Penske heading back into the paddock area. Ryan's best finish this year, as we mentioned earlier, 3rd. He did it twice at Toronto, and then, of course, last week at Mid-Ohio. A very unhappy Jimmy Vasser as the result of what happened to Takuma Sato in this last melee.
I was interested to hear Takuma Sato's take on that when it looked like his car was going straight down towards the restart when he and Dario got together there. If he had something in his eye, maybe that's what Dario was talking about, him just being a little bit too close to him on the restart. But can't wait to hear the outcome of that conversation between the two of those drivers.
You can see Jimmy very animated there as these guys are all frustrated.
Well, we talked about that team was going to leave. Jimmy told us this morning with all 3 cars to go off and do a test here with Tony Kanaan headed to Sebring to do some work there to get ready for the Baltimore race, and then the other drivers with EJ Vizo and Takuma Sato heading out to Sonoma to get ready for that race, which takes place later this season. And will they be able to go ahead and do all that right now, getting a lot of work done for the upcoming races?
So we are still under a red flag situation, and quite honestly, folks, we are waiting for IndyCar officials to give us some kind of indication as to what is going to happen here in this race with what is scheduled to be just 5 laps to go. Gary, what do you have down there on pit lane?
Well, we're checking in again with Michael Andretti. We heard the frustration and the emotion when your conversation with Rick DeBrule. In that time since, have you had an opportunity to talk to any of the officials or get any clarification?
No, they won't tell us what they're doing. Just really disappointed. I mean, you know, then they throw the red. You know, we would have won the race just on, you know, under the yellow. But they're changing everything here. So it's really disappointing. Cost Danica. Hopefully it didn't cost Ryan. I'm hoping and praying that, you know, we get a good restart and we still win this thing. But, you know, it just, I don't know why they did what they did. It was just disappointing.
5 laps to go. Any instructions as far as Ryan is concerned in that #1 spot if we get to go? And it seems like the rain has let up.
Yeah, we're going to get to go. He's just got to get the jump on the restart. So let's hope and pray he does. It's coming down to that. And, you know.
Does this side-by-side restart business this year concern you now in this situation?
Well, it definitely gives you know, the guy that's in second a better chance of passing, you know. So, but that's it doesn't matter. That's part of the deal, you know, which is fine. But it's a shame we were put in this position.
Thank you, Michael.
So Michael's still trying to figure out what's going to be happening, as is everybody here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. While we continue to wait, let's check in with Jamie Little.
Well, I'm standing outside the Penske lounge, as they call it, and Will Power is behind a closed door. They know that we're waiting for him. He's just very frustrated right now and doesn't want to get himself in any more trouble, but they will come out and talk to us after he can just cool down just a little bit, Marty.
Okay, Jamie, thank you very much for that. And that's what's left of his car back in the paddock area. Not a pretty sight, to say the least.
Penske started off the season very strong, did not have the Indianapolis 500 that we usually expect out of a Penske team, and there has been some events where they've been really off the mark, and qualifying has not been that good quite a few times for the team. We've not seen
and we're hearing now that I'm sorry to interrupt, but Jamie has caught up with Will Power.
Well, and as I reported, I heard Will saying for 5 minutes, let's not go green because the rain is coming. Will, what is it like being in the cockpit when you're told you have to race in conditions like that?
We were begging him. I was begging him, please do not go green. It's too slippery. And from what Tim Cindric was saying, so was everyone else. So everyone was saying it.
And you were yelling at the officials, Brian Barnhart in particular. Are you going to go talk to him, and what will you say?
There's no use. He makes such bad calls all the time. This has got to be it. They cannot have this guy running the show, because that was the decision that put a lot of drivers in danger. And, you know, you saw how many people crashed on the front straight, and it was no condition to race in. Shame on him.
Came back from a lap down. You gained 20 points on Dario. At that point, you were 5th. What was it like at that start when it went green?
It was just really slippery. You know, and Danica lost it, so I reacted and went this way, and I saw Briscoe coming, so I reacted, spun, then I got hit by like 3 or 4 people, and that hurt too. Man, I just can't believe that they make decisions like that. I mean, what are those guys up there doing? You know, I mean, they have Alonso, he's raced. He'd never race in these conditions. So to me, it was disgraceful.
Those officials that you were yelling at on the radio are the same ones that hand down fines and penalties. Do you think any are coming your way?
Yeah, I know that I lost my temper, and that, you know, that was bad of me to do that, but I couldn't help it. I was so emotional about it because we had such a good day, and we begged them not to do it.
Big points implication here. Of course, Dario Franchitti out, but Will Power is chasing him in the standings. Marty.
Well, and we are still waiting to hear from IndyCar officials about what is going to happen. We're attempting to get Brian Barnhart into our booth here. He is right next door and still in heavy discussion with the other officials of the IZOD IndyCar Series. And if we can get him to come over and explain exactly what is going to happen, we'll do that as quickly as we can. Let's listen to Ryan Hunter-Reay on the radio on the restart.
This is stupid. I can't even put the power down. Brian, just deal with it and do the best job you can. No, he got a better launch because it's wet and I couldn't put the power down at all. I'm in second gear, just flying the rear of the car.
The end result. Now, Ryan was able to get through it unscathed, and we are in this red flag situation, waiting to find out.
Before the drivers do report back, and there's the checkered flag.
Checkered flag is out. Now that means Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to be your race winner. So this race is now officially over. And again, we're still trying to get Brian Barnhart in here to discuss with us what happened on the track and how this decision all came about. But we are now being told this race is over. Ryan Hunter-Reay picks up the win, and Michael Andretti is now a lot happier than he was just a few minutes ago. For Ryan, it will be his 5th career win, 2nd on an oval. Remember, he won back at Milwaukee in 2004. 3rd different Andretti Autosport driver to visit victory. There is Ryan Hunter-Reay, and I guarantee you he is thrilled that this is over, because he will pick up the win. Gary, you've caught up with Michael?
Once again, how much does this salve the frustration and the disappointment of earlier?
It helps a lot. A win's a win. You know, I'm just so happy for DHL and Sundrop and Circle K. I mean, they've been hanging in there with us, and finally got Ryan in victory lane. You know, 3 cars for this team in victory lane this year. The only team to do that. I mean, I'm so proud of everybody, and so happy that you know, they made the decision they did, and thank you, God.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
So you can hear the sigh of relief in Michael Andretti's voice, and I'm sure that we're going to probably get the same reaction from Ryan Hunter-Reay.
The normal victory lane. We're standing up here at the front of the grid. He's getting a hug from Michael Andretti. He just got a hug from Marco Andretti just a moment ago. All right, we're going to talk about the win in a second, but you can walk us through what you were thinking and feeling when you were told you had to start this race under the conditions where it was so wet out there.
Well, it was, I couldn't even warm the tires. It was so wet on the track, you know. I don't think the fans at home really understand how wet it was. And with these cars, we only have a small contact patch, so the Firestone contact patch is amazing, but when there's some rain down, there's nothing there. I couldn't even put the power down in 2nd or 3rd gear, so wrong move on race control's part, but man, we had such a great car today. It was a blast to drive it. I love these short ovals. A lot of fun. We would have liked to have just finished it under green or whatever. It was a strange day, but
a very happy Ryan Hunter-Reay as we come upstairs into our broadcast booth, and joining us is President of Competition for the IZOD IndyCar Series, Brian Barnhart. Brian, take us through the process of what is going to be the official results. Who's going to finish behind Ryan Hunter-Reay now?
Well, the official result will be the positioning order prior to the last attempted restart. That's going to be an aborted restart. Obviously, the track conditions were not in a position that was safe for us to run. Couldn't agree more with what Ryan said. It's a mistake on race control's part, but again, based on the information we had, we're getting reports back from the observers, from our track safety people, said there wasn't a surface change, said it was a raceable condition. Obviously, the attempted restart showed that wasn't the case, so it was a mistake on race control's part, and the only right thing to do and the fair thing to do is go back to the running order prior to that restart, because we ended up tearing up some race cars we shouldn't have.
Okay, that's obviously going to make Will Power feel better, but before he knew this, obviously he's hot under the collar. Will there be any ramifications, because these guys were venting before they knew that you were going to change this result and go back to that?
Well, I mean, we haven't even looked at that yet, Marty. Obviously, it's we're trying to make sure we're doing the right thing here based on the conditions of the finish of this race. And when you look at what these guys are dealing with out there, with their lives and safety on the line out there, their emotions and adrenaline's going to run hard. So we'll take a look at that after the fact, but that's secondary compared to doing the right thing for the finishing order.
And Brian, were you getting reports from the drivers up into to your head control there to get into
No, and that's the hard part about it. I know a lot of them are saying, but we didn't have a single pit tech call and say that we couldn't go because they were radioing in. Obviously, up top on the spotter stand, we knew there was light moisture on the racetrack, but we were counting on at that point in time the observers around the racetrack and our track safety, and they said there was no surface change and it's good to go. And race control, we can only make the decisions based on the information that's provided to us. Clearly, in this case, it was not good information, not accurate, and wasn't the right thing to do.
And I know from running underneath you, you're all about safety, so it sounds like if you had got that information from the drivers that were in the cockpit, then you would have made a different decision.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd have never tried that, and that was so obvious as soon as you called it. I mean, it's almost one thing if one driver might have spun wheels or had it might not, but when 3 of them go that quick, it's pretty obvious it was a wrong call.
Well, Brian, thank you for taking the time and explaining that, and I think that it helps ease a lot of questions that were cropping up, obviously, during the red flag period. I'm going to throw a curveball because I don't have communication directly to the truck. Do we have the results? And thank you, guys. Here is what we have, and there is what it will be. Now, Oriol Servio will finish 2nd, Scott Dixon 3rd, James Hinchcliffe, Will Power, then Danica Patrick, Takuma Sato 7th, Ryan Briscoe 8th, Charlie Kimball 9th, and Vitor Mirror in the 10th position. So that is...
Rain was the big winner at today's NASCAR Sprint Cup Series event. Wet conditions postponed the race at Watkins Glen International until tomorrow. The Indy Race Series raced at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. On the first lap, Mike Conway smashes right into Graham Rahal. Both drivers would be okay. Here's more contact. Thomas Scheckler and Coney Kanaan make contact and spit out on the grass. Both collide into the tires on the side. Scheckler would walk off on his own and continue in the race. Kanaan's car was upside down. He was okay, but did not return. On the restart, Dario Franchitti gets nicked by Takuma Sato. Franchitti led every lap up to that point, but this wreck ended his day. Wet conditions brought out a caution, but after hearing complaints from just about every driver that the track was too wet to continue, race officials put on the green flag with 10 laps to go. They later would admit that was the wrong decision. Danica Patrick spins out and causes the big wreck. Will Power is one of the drivers involved. He storms off, then gives the double-fingered salute, or double-barreled salute. Race officials, well, not good. The race was called, and in the end, the winner was Ryan Hunter-Reay.
The wildly